Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
First and foremost, I would like to thank you for attending this community meeting here in the Chester Upland School District. As stated back in August when we had our public Zoom meeting, we stated that we would have a series of community meetings, and I just wanted to go over a couple of things before we dive deep into the meeting tonight. So these quarterly meetings will be an opportunity for the Chester Upland School District, the superintendent, the receiver's office, and our solicitors and board members to communicate some things that are happening here with our students in our district as we're trying to recover from financial distress status. This meeting tonight will not solely, but mainly focus on what happened in court on September the 19th related to the amended recovery plan and the settlement agreement between the Chester Upland School District and the Chester Community Charter School. Moving forward, the quarterly meetings will be talking about the progress of the amended recovery plan, the academic progress of the Chester Upland School District, and you'll hear about large ticket items that are happening here and from our elected school board members. So we just wanted to put that out there to let you know kind of how it flows and will go. And again, tonight, I'll introduce myself as receiver, Nafis Nichols for the Chester Upland School District. Here with me, we have our superintendent of schools, Dr. Latrice Mumine.
Good evening.
I'll introduce board members that I see present tonight. We have Mr. Lauren Tam, who's here, Miss Amanda Johnson, and Miss Tasleen Morales. There are other board members who will probably be coming in, but they're here right now. And also our solicitor, Mr. Donatelli, you'll hear from him in a moment, is here as well. So we're excited to kind of get started and go. And again, so this slide here shows you information, pertinent information that's on our website as it relates to our Mass Insight Report, our amended recovery plan, the school calendar, so on and so forth. That landing page, you can get all of the documents that we'll be referencing here tonight, and just ask that you bear with us as we are also going through a transition with our website to make it more user-friendly. I know that, and I'll admit, even for myself, our website is a little difficult to navigate sometimes when you're trying to find information, but we do put a lot of information on our website, and we're trying to make it, again, as user-friendly as possible. But all of these documents are on the website for your review. As it relates to the amended recovery plan, when I arrived here in September of 2021, the district was operating off of an amended recovery plan that the court approved in the spring of 2019. That recovery plan, of course, was pre-COVID. And in my opinion, I've said it publicly, and it's no offense to whoever wrote the recovery plan, approved it, it didn't have a lot of substance to it or teeth, in my opinion, to do what was needed for us to recover as a financially distressed school district. And I would think that some others agree with me. So we started a process before before we presented anything to the judge, to do some things where community members were involved with comprehensive plans, school improvement plans, teachers, staff, students involved in a mass insight process where we were interviewed at a high level to gather information. And then PDE requires, and PDE is the Department of Education, Pennsylvania Department of Education, they require us to do a lot of different plans and reports. So we were trying to do all these plans and reports and figure out a way to consolidate them into one document so that we can drive the recovery of the Chester Upland School District, and I think we've done a good job with that. So at that court hearing on the 18th, one thing that came out from the judge's standpoint and from the Department of Education standpoint is that Chester Upland School District has made great progress financially, restoring our fiscal health. So that's a plus for us. Now we need to focus more on our academic side. And I'll tell you, I'm not a traditional educator. I think everyone in the community knows that I'm not an educator at all, but I am I've been in financially distressed situations on the municipal side. So I kind of knew how to do that piece. And I took a different approach as a receiver to say the first thing that we needed to do was get our fiscal house in order, put in our internal controls in place so that we could adequately fund and give resources needed to provide an adequate and quality education for students. When I arrived here the district literally carried $16.2 million in debt from the prior year. That's not a good way to start your fiscal year when you owe people $16.2 million. We have vendors who just wouldn't provide services for our staff and our students because the lack of trust that was there. So we spent a lot of time restoring that trust and again getting our fiscal house in order, because I believe that in order, even if you're at your house, you have to have your fiscal house in order so that you can provide the resources needed to meet the basic needs. And in this case, it was the basic needs of education. And I'm just talking right now, and I probably should be looking at the slide, so I won't bore you all. But that recovery plan, again, adopted on the 18th, and what Judge Dozier and PDE was saying is that you guys are doing the right things now financially. Now let's focus more on the education side, because that's the business we're in. You know, we're in the education business. We need to be more competitive because we do have to compete with the charters that are around us. But keep in mind, we are the lead educational institution here. So we still have a responsibility to those charters, but we also have to have that healthy competition so that we can attract students back to Chester Upland School District. Another approach, and we'll get to this in a minute, and I promise I won't stay on topic here, is we focused a lot on our facilities. No building has been built here since the building that we're in 1974. A lot of maintenance and repairs, they just weren't done in Chester Upland School District, unfortunately. There were leaky roofs, there mold remediation, and I can go on and on. The bathrooms hadn't been touched for decades. So we spent a lot of time and energy upgrading and doing what we could do while we had ESSER dollars, and we also did a borrowing to upgrade our facilities, because one thing that our competition says, well, we have better buildings, we have new and shiny objects, we have technology. Well, we can have the same thing too. Again, in order for us to do what we need to do to provide a quality education, what we had to do was our fiscal house in order and our physical house in order, so that we can provide an environment where people could want to be educated in a comfortable setting. So we've done that, and in order for us to exit, what we have to do is make sure that we have those 2 years in the black. We have to make sure that our audits are, updated. We have to make sure that we don't ask for any advances from the state. We have to make sure that our bills are paid within at least a 45-day window. We have to make sure that we budget accordingly and provide that information to, the public. And I'm happy to say that we're on target for doing all of that. Total transparency, our audits are not caught up yet. That's the largest thing that we have to do, is get our audited financial statements caught up, but we are on track. It's a slide that we'll talk to that later. But all of those other fiscal requirements to exit receivership, we are on target as a school district. Now, Mr. Donatelli is going to go into some things in a moment, but I want to talk about the initiatives that went into making the recovery plan. All of those plans that we did, that Mass Insight report, we gathered all of that information to incorporate it and looked at the strategies that came from that to put into this recovery plan, which, and I'm not saying it just because I'm the author of it, or Dr. Momin's the author of it, or we were the team that did it, but people have said that this is probably one of the most comprehensive recovery plans that Chester Upland School District has had. It's realistic, and it really outlines how we could truly exit receivership. That's the goal. That is the goal, for us to do that. But again, now that we've done that, we will focus on the academic piece. The last thing that I'm going to say before Mr. Donatelli goes, I guess we can go to the next slide. Yeah, the lawsuit that happened between the Chester Community Charter School and the Chester Upland School District. Something that I inherited, something that this administration inherited, this board inherited. It predates all of us, but it came to an end. It had to be resolved. Had we not entered into this agreement, which right now, and I'm not going to steal your thunder, Mr. Donatelli, because I know you'll address some of these things because there's an appeal going on right now. But had we not come to a settlement, the district fiscally would not have made it. This settlement allows Chester Upland School District over a 10-year period to save $104 million. $104 million. Again, that keeps us in the black. It also releases a liability off of our books of approximately $90 million, because a part of the suit was for the district to pay the statutory rate to the charter school, but now this releases us from that. So all in all, that's $194 million that we will save as a district. Was it something that I necessarily wanted to do? Absolutely not. Was it the thing that we probably, or I probably needed to do so that we can recover? I think so. You know, we have been negotiating this deal for 2.5 years. And some, when they first came to the table, I have to tell you, it was insane and a lot of profanity and other things that went back and forth. But we got to this place where now we can at least sustain our district. We can provide services to our students, and we can begin to compete competitively to bring students back to Chester Upland School District. So I'm going to stop speaking now, Mr. Donatelli. I'm probably going to turn it over to you. I think you are the next slide to kind of go through the settlement agreement, what it means, your 10 facts. So I'll scoot out of your way.
No, I'll stand.
Okay.
That exit's for me.
That exit for you?
Yes. I'm Guy Donatelli. I work with Lamb Ackerlane and with Ken Schuster's office in media. We've been engaged, I think, since 2021 to assist the school district in the challenges that it's faced, one being recovery and the other one being litigation. I will say, not to distance myself from anything, but when Receiver Nichols says he inherited the situation, Dr. Mumeen inherited the situation, I inherited the situation as well. I can tell you over the course of the last several years, we've had some really good dialogue with the Commonwealth. And I was told by folks within the Commonwealth that this recovery plan is one of the best they've ever seen, not only here, but in the cities, in the Commonwealth. So let's talk about this piece of litigation. This litigation arises out of a 2015 settlement agreement between the Chester Upland School District and some charter schools. And that agreement, that settlement agreement, reduced the market rate of payments for students educated by the charter school, the Chester Upland students by the charter school, to a settlement rate. At some point in 2019, a Commonwealth Court decision placed into dispute the authority of the Chester Upland School District and the charter schools to enter into that settlement agreement. And at that time, the Chester Community Charter School took the opportunity to say, fine, we don't have a settlement. We're going to begin collecting market rates from PDE relating to education of Chester Upland School Districts. That was before my time, before Receiver Nichols' time. The lawyer that preceded me filed what I call a reimbursement action to get those fees back that we believe that Chester Community Charter School took without authorization, and we began that litigation back in the early 2020s. Ultimately, it became clear that in order to progress through to recovery, we had to resolve that case. And we chose to resolve it, even though I agree with Receiver Nichols kicking and screaming, we chose to resolve it through a settlement agreement. And that settlement agreement was negotiated for months and months and months. Ultimately, the financial components of the settlement agreement were favorable to the school district because A, it relieved the school district of a huge liability on its books, and B, it preserved a below market rate reimbursement to charter schools for the education of Chester Upland School District. It made financial sense. Did we want to do it? No. Was it the correct business decision to make? I think so, or my advice to my client would have been don't do it. The only component, let me stop. We trotted that agreement out in front of Judge Dozer on September 18th. We had a full hearing. Some folks in this room attended. Judge Dozer approved the settlement agreement after hearing from 4 or 5 interest groups, including PDE, including other charter schools. Solicitor Jacobs from the board was there. Ultimately, the judge approved the settlement agreement. There was a component of the settlement agreement that PDE never liked, and that I don't care, quite frankly, from a legal perspective, is in the agreement or not. And that is a provision which provides 2 5-year advance extensions to Chester Community Charter Schools charter to end in 2036. So they have 10 years. Their charter ends in I believe, in 2026. They get extended 5 and then extended 5, and it goes to 2036. PDE didn't like that because PDE believed it was inconsistent with other statutory provisions in the public school code. A lot of talented lawyers within PDE, I'm not arguing with them, but they appealed the judge's rule. They appealed the judge's approval of the settlement agreement. My position, and not to waive any attorney-client privilege, but my advice to the client is, if PDE wants to fight that battle, that's great. I don't care whether that provision is in there or not. Because if it's removed, great. Not for our protection. And if it remains in, there are other protections within the settlement agreement that allow the Chester Upland School District to enforce the charter school law against the Chester Community Charter School. So, as it stands now, there is an appeal. It was filed on the 17th of October, so it's pretty new. My view is that the Chester Upland School District should take a step back, let the charter school fight it out with PDE as it relates to those provisions regarding the charter renewal, and that the school district tend to its knitting, continue to move ahead with its recovery plan, which was not appealed. So the recovery plan order approving the recovery plan as drafted was not appealed. So that is a final order authorizing the receiver, the superintendent, and her administrative cabinet to move ahead with the goals of the recovery plan. There is a little bit of in my mind, a kind of a legal anomaly. Part of the recovery plan is based on the settlement of the lawsuit with the Chester Community Charter School, okay? Because we get such a financial benefit from it. If PDE is successful, there are two potentials. The Commonwealth Court will say, we're going to allow the rest of the agreement and we're going to take the charter school renewals out. Or the Commonwealth Court, which is the appellate court, might say, yeah, this settlement agreement's null and void. They don't have to comply with it because they didn't get what they thought they would get. And then I'm going to have to sit down with the receiver and the administration and go over what effect that might have on the recovery. So that's that's sort of the 30,000-foot overview. I'm happy to take questions from you guys and from the audience if that's appropriate. But Receiver Nichols, that's generally what I would want your stakeholders here to take away with it. That's the status of affairs. It's still up in the air. I think we did everything right. I think we're in a pretty good spot, quite frankly. As Judge Dozer indicated, you guys got a great job getting us to where we are. And I will say we've got a lot of support from the Department of Education. I would also say that it's not, it might not be unheard of that the appeal may be removed, may be withdrawn. But as it stands now, they filed the appeal. So that's the state of the union as to that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Donatelli. Well, I will say, because I don't know if you're going to stay the entire time, I will entertain some questions if there are questions from Mr. Donatelli specific to the agreement.
Director Hand, did I say yes?
Yes. Key reiteration in terms of the appeal, where it's at. The focus you said was takeout. Well, the end result would be if it's resolved that it's taken out. What was the other point?
So let's pretend it goes up to the appellate court. And the appellate court says, we agree with you, Department of Education. This provision, 3A, this provision is unlawful. We're going to take that provision out. We're not going to enforce a provision we think is illegal. But we're going to uphold the agreement. In other words, we're going to do some blue lining. So that goes out. We're happy because we don't care whether it's in there or not. The Chester Community Charter School might complain. But that's one potential, in which case we don't have an issue. We have a settlement agreement, we got a financial benefit from it, and we're going to move ahead. The other potential on appeal, this is option 2, is these Commonwealth Court judges say, we agree with PDE, you can't pre-approve charter renewals for 10 years. So it's an illegal agreement, so the whole agreement goes in. Now I don't have an agreement with Chester Community Charter School. I don't have any certainty on the money already on the books, which is what, 6 figure. I mean, it's a lot of money.
90 million.
Millions of dollars. And the settlement agreement that we crafted provides a reduction in the market rate reimbursement to the charter schools over the next 10 years. So we lose that as well. And that creates a big monetary hole in our recovery plan. And we're gonna have to contend with that. So those are the two. I'm saying, Director Ham, let's pretend this happens, let's pretend that happens. What are the consequences?
Yeah, I'm just trying to put my mind behind and understand that second point, which would basically bring us back to square one, basically. That's what you're saying.
That's a legitimate
Which is
legitimate view.
Which is not.
We don't want that.
It's not good. What's the current charter law? What I'm saying is, what makes it illegal? Shouldn't the charter law therefore nullify this in some aspect as far as it being extended 10 years in advance anyhow?
So
is that in legislation already?
Yes and no. The charter school law this is a very complicated legal phrase I'm about to use. It's very squishy. It doesn't spell things out chapter and verse.
Understood.
It provides for certain reviews by the host school district of the charter schools. We didn't agree not to do that. It provides certain rights of the host school district to revoke a charter which is not being administered correctly. We didn't give that up. The agreement says that the Chester Community Charter School must continue to comply with the charter school law. So if they step out of line, they can be held accountable for that. There isn't anything in the charter school law that says you can't pre-approve a charter. It just says you got to do it every 5 years. So my argument would be, if I had to argue on behalf of the extension, my argument would be, show me, Mr. Ham, where it says in the legislation that if I don't get my charter renewed in 5 years, I'm out, because you got to do a revocation. Or you can't do it before 5 years.
Again, you're the lawyer, you're counting on your trust, and I'm thinking, I'm listening. That determination, in fact, that every 5 years, in my estimation, just lets you know you can't go 10 years. Ain't that logical?
Yes, and it is. It's perfectly logical.
I mean, to argue.
No, you can argue. Look,
saying?
this is the argument that PDE is going to make. This is the smartest lawyers in Harrisburg are going to make this argument. And it's going to sound something like, this is a 10-year extension, that's not permitted. And the other lawyer is going to say, no, it's 2 5-year extensions. That's permitted. And we're going to be standing there saying, I don't care whether we have to hold a hearing every 5 years or not. I just want to make sure I get the benefit of the financial reductions.
So, go ahead.
Director Morales, right?
Yes. I don't know, I can't remember if you were in court or if you were.
No, I wasn't.
Okay. So PD did get up and make a statement.
Director Morales, speaking to the mic.
PD did get up and make the statement that it was illegal because we had the 5 years. And I understand that we're saying that the 5 years is small, And I absolutely understand financially why we had to do what we had to do, but it's not small when you're looking at it from an ethical point of view, right? Because every other charter school has to come before their school district every 5 years. I'm making a statement on my own. Chester Charter School for the Arts had an opportunity to do the right thing, right? And instead, they're holding this over our head, the receiver's head, superintendent's head. And so, yes, they did what was financially in the best interest of the district, but this could have been done without this 10-year extension. And so my concern was the fact that it could not be done without them getting the 10-year extension, because it leads me to believe they have something else that they are trying to organize in them 10 years. That's my opinion, has no weight on the superintendent or the receiver. I just wanted to make that, I want y'all to know that that's what I said. I was against the 10-year extension, and so I wanted to make that clear to the community. But the receiver and the superintendent did make the best decision financially for the district.
Again, I understand that, and I understand that, and it's lawyering. We're talking about lawyering, basically. It's in your hands, it's in whoever's hands. But the key aspect is, at the benefit of who? Our children or something else? That's my concern in terms of the lawyering and what we've agreed to and gone forward. That's what we need to think about and have time to reflect on. Because this is our fight, not the lawyer's fight. This is our children's fight. This is where our involvement has to get in now. If it's a 10-year window, it's a 5-year window. Let's get busy. That's what my stance is on this. I agree, we acting on behalf of the betterment of our children. I applaud the administration. I applaud all involved. But for my involvement, for all these years, we can't continue to sell ourselves short. And what I mean by that is this. It seems like what's being said and what I'm understanding today is that somebody else is fighting more than us. PDE is fighting the battle more than us, is it? That's not true? Then that educate me.
That's not true.
That's not
I don't want to argue anything, but I'm just saying.
Let me say this. From my standpoint, this is what we need to do. We have to make our product the best product so that parents will want to have their children come here, regardless if they have a 5, 10, 15, 20 year. I will say publicly, because the data is there, our district performs better than the charter schools. But because of the black cloud that people have over Chester Upland School District, people ignore it. Because I'll share this, because sometimes you gotta get personal. The gift and the curse about me being a receiver from a product of this district is I get to go to the barbecues and 50th birthday parties and people side-eye you, and then when the spirits are high, they want to talk and they say things. And I can tell you something that a mom said to me at a party. I'm not saying that my children go to the Chester Community Charter School because it's better than Chester Upland. She said it's convenient, right? They provide before care and after care. So that tells me, well, we have to do something like that to make it convenient for our parents. We have to produce a better product, because for me, if our product is good and we're selling it the right way, that goes out the window. It doesn't even matter. It's not the competition. You go on Brookhaven, it's a Chick-fil-A, it's a Burger King, it's a McDonald's, it's a Wendy's. They all making money.
But I agree. But
Starbucks, yeah, everything.
I guess.
So I'm not saying that. The lawyers are going to do what the lawyers do, but what we have to do, like you said, our fight needs to be.
Are we on the side of the lawyers? Is what I'm saying. Are we with PDE or?
PDE is supportive of the Chester Upland School District.
Right.
They were supportive of most aspects of the settlement agreement. Their only hang up is the extension.
I'm there.
And they have to, I mean, if I'm PD, I would have to be. It's the same, it's things that I took a stand on when I was a city councilman that kind of wanted to get some things at the district. When I was a city councilman, I would say, no, I don't want the school district to have to earn income tax because we need it more than they do. But now I'm on this side, Vice President Harris, you gotta change your position with the time that you're in. We have to make those adjustments. That's all I'm saying.
As long as, and I support what's going on.
And we did fight, and I want to say that too.
That's all I'm saying.
For the record, I didn't want to, I said it, you heard me say it, I didn't necessarily want to do this. But it made the best financial sense for the school district.
That's our trust.
Ms. Quell?
I think if you think realistically, compromise is a give and take. You have to give a little, you have to take a little. I'm going to put my trust in that PDE is going to say the law says 5 years, not 5 years. And then you said we have a 3-pronged thing, getting our finances, our physical, and now we have to get our academics.
Correct.
As we move forward with our academics and hopefully even bring them higher, I think we need to bring to light to the public. Here's 3rd grade in Chester Upland, here's 3rd grade in community chart. My other concern here is, it looks like Judge Dozier is going to retire at the end of the year. So here we go to another judge and, backward. So I appreciate the fact that PDE is doing this appeal versus the school district. And we're going to have to put our trust in them at this point.
Agreed. All right.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How does the notification work since PDE is the one taking initiative? So every time there's a court hearing, every time there's an update, are we being notified or do we wait until the end and it's like, oh, this is the final result?
Yes, we are notified in real time in 2 or 3 ways. All the filings now are electronic. So when something is filed in the Chester Upland case, I get an email with the attachment. I also get an email from opposing counsel with the same attachment. And then I get a telephone call from that lawyer who says, did you get my attachment? And the lawyer who represents PDE is a fellow by the name of Jim Flandro, a nice guy. He and I litigated the pipeline cases together through township and Village Street Media School District. So we've worked together a lot. He's a square guy. And I was sort of aware, I was anticipating PDE's appeal because I talked to the lawyers. So nothing will happen without me learning, or Mr. Schuster learning it.
Or Mr. Jacobs.
Or Mr. Jacobs also gets, and I generally have a 2-hour response time to those. So as soon as I get it, even if I don't have an opportunity to read it, I push it through and say something like, I just got this, I'll call you when I read it, or something like that. So something that you said, Mr. Ham, Director Ham, that I want to address. The PDE has to craft what's called issues complained of, and I don't want to get too into the weeds.
I'm
going to get right in.
Be who you are.
Okay. The PDE has to say, hey, we filed a notice of appeal. Here is what we're appealing and why.
Right.
So I only think, because I've been told, that they don't like the extension periods. And they made that clear. But that doesn't mean that once I get that in legalese, that I don't go to the receiver and the superintendent and say, hey, what do you want me to do with this? Is there a way that we can get it all? Is there a way to leverage legal rights for the school district? I'm always looking for that. I don't do anything crazy, but I'm always looking for that. So this is going to be a process. If you have these things, I'm happy to appear and give you litigation updates. I'm happy to give you any things that will be filed. I think you put most of it, if not all of it, up on your system, up on your website. I can't find it, But I know it's up.
Can I just respond to my final question that I was gonna ask? Again, what's the time frame?
Months.
Resolution.
Months,
That's what I'm saying.
months.
So this here, what happened with, we'll get this resolution within this current year.
No,
Not necessarily.
no, 2025.
2025, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where my mind is. So at least we know that. And therein, whew, you know what I'm saying? Depending on how that falls, it's like a hand grenade or what, or it's not. Some blows up, or it doesn't.
Agreed, tick, 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 tick,
We
tock.
tick, tick, tick.
I get it.
Thank you so much. That's what I need to understand. Thank
And
you.
I can even be more precise. I would think we wouldn't even get an argument in front of Commonwealth Court until the spring of next year, or a decision by the summer. So we're looking at a little time for consultation between the stakeholders.
But again, therein, like I said, put my mind, put our community minded, you're going 10 years out, you're going this, you're going that, and it can blow up next year. All blow up next year.
President Neal, did you have a
Yeah, I
question?
just wanted to say, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
In terms of the settlement, can you let the public know, in terms of dollars, what the charter school would be getting since that changed now, right? What they get every month?
So if the financial settlement agreement was in place, everyone loved it, what would be the?
What's the dollar
What
amount
would
that
be
they
the dollar
would be
amount?
receiving?
I don't have that, I didn't bring my entire file, but I'm gonna say it's close to $40 million, it's a lot of money.
The over the life of the agreement, it will be $104 million.
No, I'm thinking they receive dollars every month.
Annually, it equates to about $9 to $10 million a year, per year.
But a month, what do they get?
I
Before-
look at that disbursements at the back, and we get generally we pay 1.5 million for regular ed every month,
Yes.
and 1.5 million
For special.
ed.
The month,
We
right.
spend basically and roughly $3 million a month at the Chester Community Charter School.
And what's that each student?
I don't have the child accounting information, but I can get that for you. Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to understand, so even though the settlement was approved, while it's in the appeal status, what are we working with, the new stuff or the old
You
stuff?
know what, that was a question, may I disclose that, my view on that?
You can.
Okay,
That's a good question.
so in the world of appeals, what you're saying is the order approving the settlement agreement stayed, or does it just go on as if there's no impediment? That's your question. And it depends on who's filing the appeal. If a government entity is filing the appeal, the order is stayed. If it's a private individual that's filing the appeal, you have to affirmatively apply for a stay, otherwise referred to as a supersedeas, okay? In this case, because the appeal was by a government entity, I'm taking the position with anyone that will listen to me, that the order was stayed, because I think that's the correct legal position to take. Now, any party could file a motion to lift the stay, something we haven't talked about, and any party can file a motion to modify the stay, something you and I seriously talked about. But the law professor answer to your question is, right now there's a stay because the appellant is a government entity. Good question. And I had an argument about that with opposing counsel 2 days ago. But she doesn't see it the same way I do.
So when you have like a definite, because it still doesn't sound definite, yes, you're saying what the law is, but
It's definite.
It's definite.
It's stated because I don't think we've done, I think we've done the bare minimum. I think we approved the first term. But we're gonna have a conference with the judge, and he's gonna tell us what's what. Judge Dozer is retiring.
No, there's talk of it. So, that was my concern, because oftentimes when the judge, we're at a standstill when another judge takes over until that judge catches up.
Yeah, Judge Dozer's been great. He's been great.
That's an opinion.
Yes, ma'am.
That's inside.
All right.
That's, sounds, is that it, that hook?
During our committee of the whole meeting
Mhm.
next week, Ms. Gethers reported that, our amounts that we will be paying out to the Chester Community Charter School will be about $2,000 more because, of the amount that we, I forget exactly. She said it was going to be about $2,000 more per student due to something that we are owing. Yeah, something like that. So is that extra $2,000 because we're not enforcing the settlement, or is the extra $2,000 a month actually because?
I look confused because I have to check back. What pops in my head, what she may be referring to, is that this settlement agreement had an effective date of 7/1. So I don't know if she's saying the difference between the rates now to catch up, you know, from 7/1 to current for that 1 month. That may be, that, I'm assuming that's what she's saying, but I need to talk with her so I can follow up with you on that one
Okay,
in our executive session on Thursday.
okay.
Public mic.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I'll say that one first.
Okay, so now,
Are there any other, I mean, I'm happy to stick around.
well,
I'm happy.
you can stick around just so we can get through the rest of the presentation. Because we still have 45 slides to go. 25. So Dr., well, again, financial updates, we kind of went over some things, and Dr. Levine will jump in a moment. But I did want to make mention that the last day to pay for real estate taxes in person is October the 29th. They will be at district headquarters from 10 to 1:30. I know that that's been a godsend for some of our seniors. They like to come in and actually see someone, touch someone, and pay their taxes. So just so you know that, they only take checks and or money orders. And the other stuff I know that Ms. Gathers and others have reported on in cashless ticketing for games and everything that's improved our internal controls a lot. There is some legislation around this now, so we are monitoring that, and we'll make adjustments accordingly. And I spoke earlier about the audits. So here's a clear timeline as to when we anticipate those audits to be done, because that's the last fiscal piece for us to do for our financial recovery. Dr. Mooney,
I have a question.
you want to hold on until the end?
Yeah, I can wait.
Thanks.
So, just to share a little bit about the academic pieces here, and we started to talk about this. We've always focused on academics, but there's a greater focus at this time. We know that a lot of our students may be 2, 3, even 4 grade levels behind, and what that looks like. And so we have a partnership with Widener University to begin to bring in more tutors for our students. We also have what's called PLC. So these are professional learning communities to give our teachers opportunities at grade level across the system to begin to focus on those areas of need for our students. So moving towards a more collaborative approach across the district to support our students. And then also understanding that in supporting our students, it can't just be academic. We have to focus on the whole child if we are going to provide supports to our students. So providing additional activities district-wide and what that looks like, and there are some of those listed here. So what I want to share here is student performance. We do a benchmark performance of our students at the beginning of the year, and then we of course put supports in, instructional strategies around how we support our students, and I believe around January or so, then we will take another assessment so that our teachers, our students, our families, and community can see what is the growth from the beginning to that point. What work have we done? What do we need to do differently? So as you can see here, it is extremely low. The blue being reading, and then the orange being mathematics. And you can see where we've started the year. It's important to understand where we start the year. We just started school right after Labor Day. This is third week in October. And for the most part, these scores are nearing 10% and maybe a few at 20%. So this is how we're starting the year.
And not something that any of us are happy about.
No.
But it shows us the work that we need to do, and again, intensifying those efforts around the academic performance and increasing those partnerships with the local universities and our educators, so that when we test again in January, the expectations
Can
that
that be
this
enlarged
number.
so we can read it?
I'm sorry.
Can we read it? We can read that.
So can you see this pointer?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the 10% line here. This here is the 20% line. This first, these first two, and again, this will be also posted. These first two are for CUSA. The next is the Digital Academy, which is a program. It's not an actual school. It's a program across grade levels from grades 3 to 12. The next is ESA Middle School, then ESA K to 5, Main Street, Stetzer Elementary, and Toby Farms. So this is grades K to 8. The next here is grades 9 to 12. And this shows math with the red area being those lowest areas. And then the blue, the most improved area. So we will be looking at blue, green, and yellow essentially, but wanting to show movement in this red and orange area. So moving our students closer to the blue area.
Dr. Marie,
Yes.
did you say the blue was reading and the orange was math on the screen before this?
Yes, let me go back for you.
Thank you.
Yep, so blue is reading,
Okay,
orange is math.
thank you.
So this shows where we are in mathematics, grades 9 to 12. Again, with the blue being the highest, red being the lowest, where we want to show movement. And then this is reading, grades 9 to 12. So I'm going to pause here for a minute. So as you can see, these scores are extremely low. They are, of course, not acceptable. And we have a lot that we have in place across the district. So one of the things that I've talked about since the end of last year and going into this school year is around our partnership with the University of Virginia, that UVA training support that provides supports to district leaders and school leaders. That's important because the strength of your school leaders is probably going to show the best success around moving performance. At the same time, our central office has to be structured in a way that is providing supports to schools, the support that they need and what that looks like. We've had a number of off-site trainings that we've gone to at UVA. Recently, October 16, 17, UVA was actually in the district. I've talked about 4 priority areas. Instruction is one of those. The first was around culture and climate, culture, climate, mission, vision, because you have to be thinking about the environment, the work environment, the learning environment, and its impact, as well as instructional strategy, the effectiveness of it, talent management, talent acquisition, retention, providing supports, and then all the operational pieces that we've talked about. They all play a role. And so what our schools had to do was develop a 90-day plan on 2 of those areas. So there's 4 areas for the district, but our schools are specifically focusing on culture and climate, what that looks like. So behavioral data, attendance, we need to make sure our students are in school, right? And then academic instructionally, what that focus is like. We also do what's called these bi-weekly administrator meetings in the afternoon. And there are times that we bring in support. So for example, today we had the DCIU here to focus on training around math instruction. So it is these trainings, professional development, hands-on work embedded in the work that we do regularly that is going to help move this. And we have a 2-year commitment with UVA. Our enrollment is a little bit more than 3,000, so 3,089 students. If you recall, initially at the very beginning of the year, we reported around 3,200, but what happens is the closer you get to that October 1 count, it's called, is where districts say, no, we claim these students, they've transitioned, they've moved to these other places, so this is a more solid number around our enrollment. But I will tell you, we have increased significantly. When I first arrived in 2021 as Director of Accountability, we were around 2,600 students. So since that time, we have grown to almost 3,100 students. And we will continue to grow if we continue to do, as what was shared by Receiver Nichols, improve our educational product. But not only improve our educational product, let our students know that we care about them, right? That they are welcome. They want to be here. They can have fun at the same time learning. They're not exclusive of one another. And that's part of the culture and climate and what that looks like.
And I would like to know about the enrollment that, drilling deep, at least the reports that I received, these students aren't necessarily going to charter schools. A lot of these are going to school in New Jersey, they're going to school in Delaware. So it's not, I don't want the community to think that we're losing every student to, the competition right here within our limits.
Yes, thank you for that. So we get a weekly report on our enrollment, and along with that report, it tells us where the students are going, which is what Receiver Nichols is sharing. So they may go to another district in the Commonwealth, not necessarily here. They may leave the state a lot of times. And so it's not, strictly the charter schools. For the most part, they're not. It's these other options where they're transitioning. There's movement.
Dr. Monique,
Yes.
can I say something about the enrollment?
Yes.
Please give us the same grace y'all give the charter schools, because to the community that's watching online, you will disenroll your child from the district. You will give the district so much, I don't even know what to call it, but you will not do that to the charter schools. Like, you leave your babies in the charter schools knowing that they're not being educated, knowing that they do not care about them. Then you allow them to forcefully put your children out of the school district and out of their schools, and you still give them grace. So this enrollment number is really good, but allow us the same grace that you give to the charter schools. So.
Attendance. So, even though we are in the month of October, I'm excited around the growth that we've shown, and we need to continue this consistently. So we started the year around 79% district-wide, or ended last year 79%, the year before 80%, so there was a 1% drop. But since that time and to date, we've moved to 84%. The schools that I initially talked about with Chester High School, Toby Farms, and some around the Digital Academy, all of them have shown increases around their attendance. And as you can see, the others have gone beyond the 85% or more and have gone up to 91. So I'll share it just in case you can't see it. So Chester High School is at 70%, CUSA at 91%, STEM at 89%, Main Street at 91%, Stetzer at 91%, Toby Farms at 86%, the Digital Academy at 64%, ESA Elementary at 87%, and ESA Middle School at 87%. So there is improvement. We just want to continue that growth.
I was on with the other 9 receivers today, and attendance was something that they did talk about, and it appears that at the state level, the average is about 78%. So we are high above the state average, just so everyone knows that.
Facilities.
And facilities, I know we've talked about it again. Again, that was a focal point that we wanted to focus on to ensure that our buildings are, brought up to speed, brought up to snuff and comfortable for our faculty, staff, and students. So there have been a major projects that have been done here in the Chester Upland School District. I guess this is a good opportunity to announce. We were notified just today that we received another grant for $1.6 million to replace the roof here at Chester High School. State Rep Kazim, don't kick me, she told me to keep it quiet, but I got the official announcement from the state of Pennsylvania. I figure I can say it at this point. But yes, we have 2 other pending grants to do some things with facilities. We know that we have to focus in on, doing more in our facilities. There was something I was going to say, it slipped my mind that fast about facilities, maybe a slide. The playgrounds, I know that we're talking about the playgrounds. They're all brand new playgrounds here in Chester Upland School District, all new furniture in our buildings here in Chester Upland School District. Our bathrooms are being done. Miss Karen Meyer, is she out there?
Yes.
Because they told me that the cheerleading room's getting done.
Is it?
That's what they
It is.
It is. They signed the stuff off on it. Oh, we can talk about that after this meeting. But, things are happening, and a good problem we have is at the elementary level. We are pretty much at capacity with our elementary buildings. So we have to think about what else do we need to do? Do we need to reconfigure the school district so that we can bring more elementary age students into Chester Upland? Unfortunately, we sold buildings years and years ago, and now we're running into an issue where we don't have real estate, to renovate and have and to house more students. But we're going to do what we need to do that. The bathrooms are being done. We are in serious conversations. I know that it's been said many, many times about the athletic field. We're probably this close to presenting something to the public to renovate the entire athletic field. I will say publicly, I've said in private meetings, was there a fix to do something at the athletic field? Absolutely. But it would have been us throwing good money after bad. It would have been about $700,000 that we really don't have to go up and put a Band-Aid on something that, in my opinion, needs stitches. So now we're at a point where we could really do the entire complex over and make it state of the art. So it's coming, just be patient. Like what Member Morales says, just like every other school district, because I do work in other school districts. Let me rephrase that. I work in other municipalities that have to deal with other school districts, and our facilities, some of those facilities were worse than Chester Upland, but they have started to do renovations, and we are going to do that as well. So I wanted to put that out there publicly. Again, new electrical throughout the entire district, new windows. Main Street and Toby Farms for the first time have air conditioning for the first time ever, so that is a plus. We're excited about that. And again, this building didn't get enough attention, but it will start to get attention as we have now started to budget for capital projects in this particular budget that we're working off of currently.
And we have an open house.
Oh, there's an open house, yes, tomorrow. Go ahead, talk about it.
So we have an open house tomorrow at 1350. So we didn't have an opportunity to give it its true opening. When we renovated the facility, the purpose was, as was shared, we don't have enough space for our K-5 scholars. And so the idea was to separate K-5 from the middle school, have middle school now at 1350 to give a greater opportunity to grow. But we weren't able to do that open house because at the time we had some of our Toby Farms scholars in the building while we did renovations to Toby Farms. So now that Toby Farms is whole and that family is all back together, now we're going to do an open house for 1350 so that the community can see the classrooms, our maker space, what that looks like as we also do the ribbon cutting for our playground. And that is at 5:30 tomorrow.
And the administrators will know, but I may kick them out of their new offices over there as well, put them back here if we need space and renovate the rest of that building into a school. So
that would be great.
It's possible if we need to do that.
It's possible.
That is real estate that we have that we can make into more classrooms. We're adults. Adults can be uncomfortable, but our students cannot. So we can pick up and move whenever to do what we need to do.
Communications update. So we of course received a lot of feedback over time around communications, what that looks like, how will we improve it. I'm glad to say we've been working on a communications draft that we will be sharing a plan for the district. But in the meantime, these are just some of the areas that we focus in on. So our e-newsletters, of course, our school messenger, our Clipper TV, and the website, we are now doing a migration of its current platform, and then we'll begin the process of redesigning our website so that it is user-friendly to everyone.
Thank you.
Ms. Arnold, you're gonna love it, I'm telling you. So it's much easier. I can't navigate the website.
So we are working on it. We have to start with migration though. Just an update here on school menus. It's now available to anyone who would like to access it online to learn about the nutrition facts of the food that we are serving to our students. This is a top priority. We take it very seriously.
And we did put the statement out about the recall over the weekend. It was mistaken that it was Chester Upland, but it was not. It was Chester County, so we want to reiterate that as well.
And again, just, reminder of our SEL initiative with Ms. Bowser, our new office of equitable learning and supports, because again, educating the whole child, we have to be able to also provide mental health supports. Therein lies why we have sought a lot of grants around these mental health supports as well. So you will see more supports to students in this area. This one is just extremely important. We want to make sure we stay in communication with our families. So it's important to now go through our process of getting our online form and just keeping us updated. If parents make any changes to their contact information, we want to know what that is so that we can make sure we're providing every single parent with the information that they need and deserve. But we don't know if it's not shared with the district.
What's been the response? Because I see that on, what has been the response?
Yeah, you'd like to know the date on it? I don't have that today, but I can get that for you.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to know how,
Yeah, absolutely. I can report on it in the superintendent's
because,
report.
in this digital world, all of our population,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may not be
Understood.
understood.
We like to have multiple platforms.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can provide an update on that though in the superintendent's report.
Mailers.
Did you say mailing?
Mail. We want that.
We want to do it in real time. They really need to share with you. So this is just a reminder of one of the grants that we received for a little more than $800,000 for environmental repairs. I believe Receiver Nichols talked about this one. Just sharing some of these things so that they're at the forefront, because again, what was talked about earlier is there's this perception, this cloud, when there are so many great things that are happening in the Chester Upland School District that we do to connect with our families. So our back to school nights are one of those. We have started, we heard our staff and we heard the community around morale and what that looks like. And so it's important to recognize and acknowledge our staff. And so we started this with September. So these were our September members of the month. So please be looking for that every month.
Are there, how are they chosen?
So there is a process for this. There is recommendations from each of the school leaders, and that is submitted to our central office. But I'd be glad to share more of that as well in my superintendent's report. So just a reminder, it has been National Principals Month, so we highlighted our principals here. Del Val Champs, once again, 22, 23, 24. I just wanted to acknowledge that. It's important to also recognize our student athletes. But in addition to that, cross-country team Del Val League champions as well. And this is just a reminder, please join us at the ribbon cutting and open house. We are really excited about this. The playgrounds have been a long time coming. It is important to understand that learning through play is essential for our students for their growth. And we want to make sure we create an outdoor educational environment that reflects that.
So at this time, I don't know, Madam President, I'm gonna get you. If you or the board wanted to say anything about the board trainings, maybe. I know prior to your arrival, I had told the community that these would be quarterly, and moving forward, the focus will be on us giving a status update for the implementation of the recovery plan, and also about academic progress, and for the board to interact with the community and talk and have some, dialogue there. So the next one's in January. I'm not putting you on the spot tonight, but I didn't know. I just wanted you to know that. So you're fine?
Yeah. We'll see in January.
Oh, okay. All right. So I guess we'll open up for some questions at this point.
Yeah.
There, Miss Friend's hand went up like 5 times.
So I do want to thank you guys from the last board meeting that I was at. I know I don't attend a lot of these meetings, but I do when I can. So I do want to thank Dr. Amin for following up and meeting with me as our one-off regarding the athletic field. And I'm happy that you do have that on there, that you mentioned that we do have something in place. Is there an ETA? I know you don't probably have a definite about timing for it, but is there a window of when the athletic complex will be completed or worked on?
I don't want to say completed. I can say it will definitely be started before the end of this academic year.
Thank you. My second question was, which was my
Well, let me
first
back
question.
up. The process, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say
Okay.
shovel in the dirt because again,
Right.
I think,
But it's in the near future to begin.
right, because it's the bid process, the legal, all that stuff.
Right.
That
Okay.
stuff takes time, a lot of times longer than any of us would like.
I didn't want to assume that your coming in the future would be 3 years from now.
Oh,
So
no.
that's why I
No,
wanted
no,
to
no.
get that, because I know it does take time. However, on the slide, we talked about cashless payments for the sports venues. And I know this is a touchy subject, but do you ever get a report on what was made from homecoming? And if so, where did those funds go?
So homecoming proceeds goes to student activities account. Coach Bell handles all of that. I know he did report out last year and plans to report out this year as well, what was made at homecoming. I haven't seen the report myself yet. So we will have him present that at a public school board meeting.
Thank you.
I don't think that's what Ms. Gather shared at that other meeting.
Oh, I didn't say she shared it.
No. She said something about the fact that the money made at homecoming, because it's such and such, can go into a general fund. So
She stated everything except off-court activities go
Yes, she
into
did.
a certain account and court activities go into a different account.
Can we just get clarification for the
We
next
could
one, I
get
guess?
clarification
yeah,
after
thank you
this.
so much.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm good.
All right, you had a question, ma'am?
Okay, yes. So this is actually just my third time coming to a meeting. And I've noticed that I haven't heard anything regarding the autism program. My grandson is in that program. The special education director is very hard to get in touch with. No
The new
one-
director,
Huh?
the new director,
Okay, so there's someone new.
Dr. Lang.
Oh, amen.
Yes.
So, yeah. I
Yeah, we
know her.
recruited for that because we separated special education out from pupil services. It was all one office and we understood that it needed its own attention.
Okay, so I definitely, because there are a lot of entities that were supposed to be implemented into this program. This is my grandson's second year, and I have to say he hasn't received anything that was supposed to have been implemented, speech or anything. That is his main thing, that he can, he's nonverbal. He can write, he can do everything else, but he's nonverbal, so not having that speech aspect or some of the other things that was supposed to be given, and I never hear about it. I never hear money coming in, or we finally hired a speech therapist or anything of that nature, and she was very hard to get in contact with. So now that there's a new
Understood.
person, I would love to have that information to introduce myself.
Absolutely.
To get things done from the grandson.
Yes, and if I could get your contact information after this meeting, I'll connect you with Dr. Lang. But we will definitely report out more on the separation of the departments and the
Okay.
supports.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right, Ms. Quell?
I have a concern about, and it's sort of related to Chester Community Charter School. We know that mid-October, November, they start putting kids out. And those babies have to come back to us. When I say us, Chester Upland. Is it still in effect that when they put those children out, the money they receive from the state stays with them, or do we get that money when we have to take their children in?
It's a great question.
It is a great question because,
There should be
Should
a
there be?
reconciliation for that.
yeah,
And I paused that because on my receivers call today, they were talking about a reconciliation period that we needed to do as the LEA by December the 15th for anything
Okay.
that happened between the start of the school year and I want to say November 15th. So they're supposed to be sending us some information on that. That's why I paused, because I was kind of like going back.
there is a
But
reconciliation.
there is a reconciliation period, yes.
Good, and I hope we go after that money because
Oh, yeah.
they did, we know they tend to put those children out when they don't want to be bothered with them and keep the money. for the whole year. So I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I would like to say, so it's a lot going on. I'm trying to think if I'm an employee or a parent, but I'm a parent first, so I'm gonna start with that. One with the charter schools. So I guess because we're in receivership, there is no real charter renewal board, which is probably why PDE filed for you could correct me, the 10, the 10 years, so the 5 and the 5, because we don't know what progress they're gonna make in already approving
So.
that 10 years.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I apologize. So my view is that the charter renewals are properly.
I'm sorry, not the charter, so like a child accounting, like someone to check what's going on in the charter school to oversee that.
That's not
Advisory, charter advisory.
Yes, and in the recovery plan, it's written that we will establish a charter school oversight office, which we will start the planning of that this year.
Great. Good. My other question is, yes, we as a district, we are the face of the community. We are the hub. And we do have to enhance what we have for additional offerings to retain and get students back in. I guess my first question is, what are we doing, one, to recruit quality employees, to educate our students? Because what I'm seeing is we're getting workers and not educators, and there is a difference.
So I know one thing that, since I've been here, the complaint that I've always heard was Chester Upland School District doesn't pay what the surrounding school districts pay, so we've been able to bring the pay scale to make it more competitive. That's one thing we're doing. I know also they're doing more with recruiting at the university levels to make sure that we have the certified teachers. We do have PDE that is assisting there in the IU. I want to be more prepared for that question because Dr. Pless is in the process of, she did the one presentation at the meeting last month, but she's supposed to be doing another presentation to talk about just that, our efforts and the partnerships that we're establishing with, the colleges, universities, and the IUs to attract better talent and of course retain them. But it seems like we, without, I just say whatever on my mouth sometimes. We have to fix some broken pieces within the school district as it relates to communication and what we actually need so that we're not waiting. For me, we shouldn't be in August figuring out at that point that, now we need a physics teacher.
And that
shouldn't be. That's unacceptable for me. So that's a breakdown in communication at some level that we are working on so that we can recruit, the best talent possible. Again, on my call with PDE, we talk about that particular thing, and they're saying that that's an issue that people are facing across the Commonwealth because that is a specialty, for that particular subject. However, based off of what we're doing, they're satisfied with as a Department of Education, but we know what we need and what we desire as parents. I'll say that. And we have to try to attract someone, but we need to have more lead time. So what am I saying? Because I said a lot and I don't want to seem like I'm talking in circles. People got to do their jobs. I stopped because another word was going to come, but they have to do their jobs. They have to communicate effectively. It has to be timely. When I went to Chester High School Academy, I had a roster before I left in June. The academic year, before the academic year started in September. For whatever reason, I think last year I yelled, jumped up and screamed and told everybody, if you want to be here, the schedules need to be out timely. And I think they did a little better, but it's still not where it needs to be. Because if we don't have that part done, then we don't know, enrollment numbers, we don't know what courses students want to be enrolled in to kind of do what we need to do.
So if I could just add to that, it really has to be a comprehensive approach. We understand that it's a challenge, which is why it's one of our 4 priorities. And so we would be glad to report out more on that in November around where we are, right? Another part is we've expanded the platforms that we actually recruit on. So there were a few places that we probably were sharing our positions, but now we've expanded that, for example, to Top School Jobs, which is a national platform, if you will, using our LinkedIn page in a different way around jobs and recruitment, talking more about what we offer and talking more about our story and what we actually do in the district to actually attract staff, but I get it. We also have the challenge around emergency certified staff. And now we're looking at how can we put our emergency certified staff on a pathway to become certified, to provide supports to them, and therein lies provide additional supports to our students. But we know that these are challenges that we face.
And you said a lot of great things. So yes, first with the certification. So, you know, I feel like as been in and out of the district for 23, 24 years, I find it challenging that we don't promote within, that we don't enhance within. We spend more time searching out instead of developing what we have to turn around to have the same individual. And after a while, those people who inspire to do other things will go out because they're accepted somewhere else because they're overlooked here. That's number one. And then if we know, I think nationally, you know, a lot of people struggle with the certification. So let's get some coaching programs in here to support those, you know, in those areas so we can get people to pass the certification test. In addition, we want, and we can go back to the physics, but that's important to me because my son is in that physics class that does not have a teacher. And we want our students to excel. We want more college acceptance, but we have to prepare them appropriately so they can be in the numbers to get that. To me, that's a major course for where he's moving post-graduation, but don't have a direct instruction for that. So he's missing some of the intricate parts of being prepared in that physics, particularly.
Is your son STEM?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that was going to be my next concern. My daughter is a senior and she takes nursing, and the physics class, I have a teacher, well, I didn't have a teacher for a while, and then she ended up with incomplete, and now she tells me they do work online with this teacher that's online, but it's another person that sits in the class that's supposed to grade the work. So she's like, Mom, I don't know really what's going on.
But that won't work if the teacher or if the person that sits in the room doesn't know physics.
Exactly. What was going on at the beginning of the year, they had babysitters, and that's what I called them. It was somebody who was just sitting there, and so it's like, what are the substitutes supposed to do? It's like they came there to watch them, and that's all that was going on. And then in Power School, then there's a incomplete, but that wasn't on their behalf. There was somebody there babysitting the beginning of the school year.
There was a substitute that wasn't providing instruction.
None at all.
You can't have a person sitting in the room for physics that doesn't know physics.
So STEM High School will definitely have a plan to address exactly what you're talking about around physics. We are essentially saying the same thing and agree that we should grow within, which is why we're looking at the emergency certified staff and how to support those staff members. To your point, it was brought to our attention around some staff members just not being able to pass exams. So I started to have that conversation with the University of Pennsylvania. I served as a superintendent with Student Study Council. And in doing that, I get to talk to superintendents around the Commonwealth in neighboring states. And the executive visited our district and asked, where's the area that we could probably provide the most support? And I started to talk about the emergency certifications and individuals being able to actually pass those exams.
That is good. And two other things, so you touched on, I do believe that we need to start promoting the positive things that we do in the building. So when I returned back here about 3 years ago, I was on a recruitment committee in Philadelphia where you had presentations to show the various programs and stuff, and I think we need to get into that so we can start attracting certain things. And we also need to increase our gifted and talented program. In our offerings, we can't just keep giving them gym and art and partially music when it's a whole world out here that is more competitive. Media, designs, film, photography, all of those things. So we have to really get into those things and start figuring out. And you say preparation before. Again, 3 years ago when I first came back in, we have to start thinking about the following year, the end of December and January, so we can properly prepare for the courses that we need to give the offerings, the elective, whatever it is. And we start, and for whatever reason, we still back in June and July without.
Area we have to approve, but it has to be something that's collective, that we all agree and work towards together. Not an individual, not a few people, but all of us.
Absolutely.
Board Member Morales.
I
And
wanted
then
to,
we'll go to Ms. Maya because we have the hard stop at 7. Oh.
Go to the mic up there.
I wanted to say something about the staffing. There's a thing like a social media footprint, right? And so when the adults of the district are sharing things like reposting a child, giving them a lunch tray with a hopscotch on it or a butterscotch, whatever it was, when the adults are, not being adults, those things leave a print about the district on the web, on social media sites. So if I'm a professional and I know, one, I'm already going to probably have to take a pay cut to come into the district. Two, I'm probably going to have to work a little bit harder, which I might not care about doing because I'm in the profession of educating children. But to know I'm also going to have to deal with adults who are not being adults, that's something that we have to fix. Our children follow our lead, right? So the things that we choose to exacerbate on and weigh on are the things that are going to become important to them. Uniforms, every time I drive down the street, I can't tell who's a child and who's an adult. We have to put our babies in the uniforms. I wanted to say, because it's a protection for them. When you go into a hospital, you know the doctor is the doctor because they have a white coat on. When you're outside, you know the police officer is the police officer because they have a uniform on. Specifically for our daughters, we need to know that our daughters are the children because there becomes this little excuse, I didn't know that was a baby, I didn't know da-da-da-da-da. The uniforms have to be worn. That's one small thing that parents can do that can help develop culture within the district so we can see our babies, so that we can acknowledge our babies. The social media stuff has to get better. I wouldn't come work here if I was a teacher based on what I see on social media. It's not worth it to me for the income that I'm going to make coming here. So in a perfect world, yes, we will be able to have gifted programs, but when our teachers, social workers, and a lot of them could do a lot better. This is not for all of them. This is for the teachers that really come in and are doing the work. They are doing so much more before they can actually start teaching the lesson. And so as parents, we have to start being just a little bit more mature in the way that we are approaching the teachers and supporting the teachers. And then maybe we will be able to attract the type of people we need here for our babies. So I just want you to think about that when you are asking the district why we can't bring people into our school district. That's all I want to talk about.
Thank you both.
Ma'am.
Okay, as a parent and a driver for the district, I just wanna know who can I speak with regarding transportation? My daughter, she goes to STEM. We live 24th and Crosby between Edgemont and Chestnut. So the bus stop for her is about 4 blocks this way. And near Chester Park, near Houston and Elkington that way. So she has to travel like near Chester Park and it's dark. It's about 6:30. And like as a parent, like I leave out about 6:15. Her bus don't come till 6:30. So I just need a number, like, can we put a bus in between? So that she's not walking those long distance alone in the dark.
If I can get your information after.
Because I've been calling the number that's still
I'm going to connect you directly with Mr. Mosley before we leave.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Maya, and then we will conclude.
So first I want to say thank you so much for this meeting. I honestly thought this was the kind of a meeting where as parents, and as a community, we can talk about some of our concerns. But I respect what we just learned. I just have some concerns as a, someone from our community. When I saw that we're doing some partnership for students, I think you said from K to 6, with, I'm not sure.
K to 8.
For the elementary, because we have a serious need for help in our high schools. So I just want to make sure that we get some help for our students in the high school. And as you know, the after-school program is not going to start till November the 4th, which I think is very late. And I'm not sure what happens. I'm not sure if we wait for grant money, or I'm not sure how that's taken care of. But I hope for the future that doesn't happen again, because our kids, and when I'm, as a coach, and the students say they need help, I want to make sure that they have the necessary tool set, so that when 2 weeks come and the report cards come out, they don't have an eye on there for chemistry and for physics, because they didn't have help in those courses. Another thing, public speaking, I feel is a necessary course that our students should have. When I look at their grade, when I look at the classes that they're being offered, like for example, I asked you about zoology. I'm not sure what that is, but I think that public speaking is something that would definitely help all of our students. I think it's something that is needed in our schools. I feel as though STEM should be operating as a STEM school, and there are certain requirements that we should be meeting in our schools. We talked about the physics and the chemistry, and again, I thank you about homecoming, because I feel as though they announced everything is electronic. We should be able to get the information a lot quicker than like 2 or 3 months later on how much was actually made. And I know that it goes to athletics, but since everything is going electronically, I think that we should be able to get that information quicker. And we're still having some issues with counseling in the school, as far as making sure that our students receive college and career information. And I know that we had that conversation last year, and I'm hoping that it gets fixed before the end of this year. So.
All right. Thank you, and as a reminder, tomorrow we have the events, and on Thursday is the public receivers meeting. I'll come prepared to answer some of those questions. The homecoming, I think Coach Bell probably has it, him or Ms. Gibbs, they definitely should at this point. The other piece, Ms. Karen, though the collection of the funds are electronic, it's still like invoices that come in that have to be paid, so they give like the grand total of what the net profit was. That, because the invoice actually just came in today for homecoming. They take care of some expenses related to the security detail. Not making an excuse, but we can't turn it around that fast until we get all those invoices in to give you a full picture of what's what. But I'll make sure that Coach Bell gives us that information. So Thursday is the receivers meeting. We look forward to it. And again, we'll have this quarterly meeting in January again. And I hear what you're saying. I think we should have some more dialogue where people can bring some concerns. Again, the format is going to be for us just to give status updates in those 2 areas, recovery plan and the academic piece in the school board. So in my mind, that should, if these are 1.5 hour, 2 hour long meetings, we should be done our stuff in 20 to 30 minutes tops, and then that gives us more time to dialogue with the community. All right, so thank you all, and enjoy your evening. Get home safe.